and I worship Lord Shiva. Oh my God. Oh, you're going to lose this amazing revelation if you go into that and cultivate monism, oneness with God. You lose the service of the Lord by doing cultivate. You meditate on that. Matter of fact, Swami Damodar actually warned against this. See, we have histories of this. They're in family. One of these devotees, very intimate devotee, Bhagavanacharya, had a nephew who came to visit. And Bhagavanacharya, he's a sold out devotee of Lord Caitanya and Radha Krishna, just completely intimate like this. He says, oh, my nephew, and my nephew is in town, and he's in my body, talking about Brahman. Why don't we go just for fun and listen? What do you think Bhagavan, Swami Damodar said? He says, oh, are you kidding? Why would we want to go there? Those who are into this monistic Mayavadi philosophy of oneness and monism, just by hearing that, you could lose your faith in this. He said, I don't even want to listen to that. Lord Caitanya, he showed the example. He wouldn't even associate with Mayavadis until he turned himself. No, I want to be with devotees. He was in Varanasi, which is with this Mayavadi place where people worship Shiva. They worship Shiva. Shiva is a Vaishnava, but he helps people that are on that level to get the liberation. But that's just a stop. It's not the full perfection. It's this oneness thing. So he helps people. They desire to be one with God. Something like that. But he's really in his heart. He knows the ultimate truth. He's a Vaishnava. He worships, simultaneous oneness and difference. Okay? So Lord Caitanya was there. He wouldn't associate with these Varanasi Vaishnavas who wanted to be God, wanted with God and stuff like that. And there were devotees there. He had devotees, Tapan Mishra and somebody else, and they were devotees. They were bhaktas. Weren't into this monism, And so the Lord would go to their houses. See, the Lord. Now that physically went to their houses. Do you think he's any different if we become meditating on monism? You think he's going to come to our house or your house? So watch it. I'll kick you out of here. Cultivate that shit. I'm not having that coming in and spoiling this kirtan. That's fine if you want to do that. Anybody. You want to be a monist? Well, but you won't do it here because I want the Lord to continue to come. See, history. You don't learn from history. You learn from history. You're not doomed to repeat it. The Lord did not go to any Mayavadis until he turned them. See, and he got them. He did a little trick. He got in there and got them to listen to him about Vaishnava philosophy. And then he initiated them to chant the holy name, and they just, ecstatically chanted, and they listened to Lord Caitanya, even though they didn't understand him for a while, because they're contaminated with this Mayavadi stuff. Yeah, and Karuna, no more comment. You're 86 from commenting here. That's it, man. Finished. I had enough of this stuff you bring in here. When you become faithful, then we're talking about this. You got this stuff. It's a Judas thing, and I had enough of this. It's not going to be messing with the faith of people in this song. So you just stay on the thing. In fact, I'll just help you along here. Okay, you're added to the block list there. So, yeah. So you stay in the distance until you become faithful, because I've had enough of this. I'm not enough of this messing. Yeah, messing around. I already had to deal with something. People got the wrong thing in their mind because of things you say. This is the illusion coming in you and messing with what's going on here. So in a sense, my fault. It's like I tolerate things sometimes, and I'm not quite aware of it. But that's the lesson the Lord helps us. Without this ecstatic worship, we would not be able to see our way out of this stuff. We would not be able to sing together. So
Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu was invited to associate with a bunch of monisms, a bunch of monists, not just moaning, impersonalists, people who saw God and themselves as people who could understand that they were part of God and God was part of them and we were all part of that. This is monism. This is Dvaita philosophy. And his disciples, some of his disciples, Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu's disciples, would go to these monists because we're all part of the Brahman. We're all together. We are all part of the. Wow, we're all in 3 different rooms. We're all in 3 different rooms. Lalita downstairs, Yaman upstairs. I'm here. Govinda's outside somewhere. Okay. Achinta Bheda Vedata. Inconceivable oneness and difference at the same time. Lord Chaitanya's disciples were asked to come, to bring Lord Chaitanya to a gathering of Mayavadis. And Lord Caitanya declined. He said, I don't want to be around them. They are impersonalists. Yet Lord Chaitanya's teachings himself is impersonalism and personalism at the same time. So at the same time, it's like to experience God inside you and know of God's pastimes, to know of God's relationships, to know of what He is and what He does, not just the all-seeing eye or the big glowing effulgence of light. That God is a person with a personality, and that personality rests now in us and is aware, listening to us. And Monty Python had it right when God appeared to the knights. Hang on. When God appeared to the oh my Lord. Anyway, I'm back to it. When God appeared to the knights of the round table, they deflected their eyes. They wouldn't look at the Lord. Oh no, Lord, we cannot. What are you doing? We're we're deflecting our gaze, oh Lord. And God said, well, don't do that. That's so annoying. So annoying. Look at me when I'm talking to you. Yes, your Lord. And then they did. Sorry, Lord. And stop apologizing. I hate those songs. Oh, forgive us, Lord, for our sins. We are sorry for. They're so boring. Which they are, and they're perfectly right. With Christian belief doctrines, very right. God is a person. God has interests. God has everything. Okay? God is everything. So, Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, 500 years ago, came down and he gave a personalist view on impersonalism, and that we can experience that concept of separation and connection at the same time. So when you go into the impersonal side, when you feel yourself when you feel a melting of borders, a melting of boundaries, when you feel a melt away of identification, a melt away of a false narrative that has been projected onto you. You feel a melting of these boundaries, and you feel a connection with all. Namaste. I see the God in all. I see the Lord in everything. I see myself in everything. Reflections of my Walkman staring back at me. And that familiarity and that knowing of the yogic bliss. But then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives an extra abhed, that bheda, bheda tattva, bheda tattva, bheda tattva, bheda tattva, bheda tattva, 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 bheda tattva, inconceivable oneness and difference at the same time. That Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu didn't want his devotees just to only concentrate on the impersonal, but the personal was there. Now, just right now, I made a so-called offense to my spiritual master. I've called a so-called offense by whatever. I can't help being an addict because as soon as I tuned into Srila Haridas, I heard him say the word aspect, but what I heard was aspect, to look at the ass, and I wrote the word down. Not you and your aspect, or not you and your aspect. Know you and your aspect. Know you and I would try. Know you and aspect. Yeah, to know you and your aspect. To know you and your aspects. To know you and your aspects. Okay, so to know you and your aspect. That's what I was meant to say. To know you and your aspects. That's it. But when I heard it, I heard aspect. I said the wrong word. I was joking. Bit of funny.
So, how he acts and who he reveals what secrets. Vishnuvar's elder brother, Mr. Root, used to come to my house and discuss Bhagavad Gita. See, they were discussing Bhagavad Gita back then. Isn't that interesting? At that time, Vishnuvar was the most exquisite child. No, yeah, Vishnuvar was the most child who was most charming. He would come to my house to call his brother. The little child, Vishnuvar, captivated my entire being with his extraordinary beauty. I would spontaneously bless him, saying, "May you develop your devotion to the Lord." See, may you develop pure devotion to the Lord. That is the greatest blessing. That's the greatest blessing you can get here. May you, I didn't say, may you just see the Lord, get darshan of the Lord. You know how many Vaishnavas say that still? That's not conclusive enough. The washerman got darshan of the Lord, but he hated him. People also, you're getting darshan of the Lord. Here, you get darshan of the Lord, but people dislike what we do. They send terrible videos. They show you that they don't like the real God. See, they're all this. They don't know the real Krishna. They get to see it like Lalita Ganga as an example. You know, the real Radha and Krishna, the real devotion. That's that even Brahma rarely sees. How they respond? They send videos. You know, they're so out of tune, out of touch with the real God because they don't have pure devotion. And you see how it gets clear here? And only here. Nobody knows. The disciples are all people except us. Why? Because this devotion is real. This devotion is pure. This devotion reveals the true Lord, Chaitanya and Krishna and Radha as they are. And I take shelter of that. I take shelter of this realization, this understanding, this knowledge. And I take shelter of this body. That's why I do what I do. Otherwise, this job would not be done. You see why I'm in trouble. I now, and then I still have a few tests to go through to get clear and really, yeah, this is what it is, man. This is what we're doing here. Anybody want on board? That's why you're not on board going on. You can stay on the outside a little bit and keep peering in. But that's all you do is peek. And if faith doesn't develop, well, man, you miss a ride. If it does develop, hallelujah. But this is what we're doing. This is, the devotees who have this ecstatic love is because of their faith in, and they have faith in these conditions. That's the ticket. It's so hard to understand. What part of you doesn't want that? Don't you want shelter? Well, that's good. That's how you learn. Just stay out of the shelter long enough till you're fed up. So you're sick of being at the table and there's nothing to eat because you don't have faith in this body and faith in this understanding. I'm not taking shelter of faithless person. Does anybody want to take shelter of faithless person? What they say, what they believe? Do you like that misery? Do you like that doubt? Living in doubt? Do you like that? Like having nothing, what do you call happiness? That's why, hey man, they call it either shit or get off the pot, basically. Just dump that stuff out, or just carry it around for as long as you want. Be so close. You're in. Sometimes you just gotta go to space.
Ah, hello.
You know what they say? Like the Vatican, they say when you can name a demon, like a demon inside, that's good. When it's in the friggin' way, then maybe whoever's in that mood, you can kick it out. It's like, hey man, I'm done with this. It's harassing me because I don't want to harass other people anymore. To harass and cause mischief. Yeah. So it's great, man. May you develop pure devotion to the Lord. That's the blessing you get here. May you develop, you faithful people, may you develop pure devotion to the Lord. Prahlad's preaching was the way. Prahlad said, I got this bhakti. He would laugh, he would cry. Things that you see here, the devotees have. This is what she said. The great demigods, like Shiva and Brahma, have this kind of ecstatic relationship before, because there's you can
Hare
get
Krishna,
that.
Hare Krishna, Krishna. Oh my God. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Gaurari Das, Srila Gaurari Das, Srila Gaurari Das, Srila. To see prema, to see prema bhakti, to see prema bhakti. Krishna. What's the Gaurari Das? But at the same time, it's increasing. It's ever expanding. Generally say that when you first meet Krishna, he gives you a lot of himself to begin with. He gives a lot of himself to begin with. And he pulls back. Or is it the fact we pull back? Because it's so deep. I want to end this here. But I'm not going to.
So you get this by submissive hearing, and your desire to,
Sometimes submissive hearing, and then Srila Haridas will say to me, hey, if you don't want to listen to it, listen to it. But don't demonize me for not listening.
What is this bhakti is a descending process. You don't get it that way. Right? You want to come in and take over control or something. See, that's what Maya does. That's why you see the God brothers had that attitude with Prabhupada. He said, don't believe they want to be part of this. They want to come in and take over. So if you got that part of you, that's got to be kicked out. How long do these devotees want to maintain? That's why Krishna doesn't give bhakti. They want to hold on to their ideas. Therefore, how can you get bhakti that way? You hold on to your opinion, and no matter what I say, you never give it up. Okay, you can't straighten the dog's tail. Okay, well, maybe enough even the path or something. Yeah, I can preach and preach and preach and preach and show and show and show, and people still don't develop faith. Well, maybe you're on the wrong path or something. This is for people where I'm preaching, 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 showing, 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 and something happens. Some fruit comes eventually, huh? Hopefully, but not everybody's like that. Some people, they're just so identified or something. Maybe they just, but you're not going to come over and take over here anybody like that. I'll preach and preach and preach and show and show and show, and so will the devotees who have faith and faith and faith, and they have but it can go so far. You're completely right. At a certain point, there is no place for the unfaithful playing their games. Yeah. So, sometimes it comes, you got to be cornered. It's like a mouse. It's a fast runner, running around, but sometimes, you find a corner that mouse. It has to go in the hole or not. Is that salvation, Jesus, personal liberation? Well, it could be. It's kind of like you can go to Lord Shiva for salvation, or you can go if you're, as a Baba. He'll, of course, lead you to a real Vaishnavas eventually, so that you can become, because it's about Shiksha. It's not his It's just like Jesus came here and he did certain work, right? And then he'll leave, like Jesus, he did a certain work, he showed me certain revelation, and then he led me to Prabhupada's books for further instruction. You got to have some further instruction, and if you're lucky, you meet a living being. I was at the point where this devotion had already awakened, so obviously I had some connection with it. And then with Prabhupada's books, obviously I had some connection with Lord Caitanya also, because I could start to get it, you know. But it's very rare. I mean, you gotta, Bhaktivinoda had a similar journey actually. He almost became a Christian actually.
I'm not going to be cornered. I'm not going to be cornered. I love the chase. I love the drama. I love the excitement, the anxiety. Will I be caught? Will he catch me? This energy, this chase, this drama, this leela of, what seems like aggression and seems like a prasampradaya against Guru. It's against parts of Guru's words. I appreciate the prema. I appreciate the ecstasy. I see it. That's why I'm here. That's why I will say Srila Gaura Haridas is an ecstatic Bhakta Raganuga preacher. And you can only get the shelter from God by associating, by appreciating and glorifying and relishing and gratefulness. And so many words to describe this. Each word brings up a whole wave of emotion. 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 We want motion. We want movement. We want motion. Motion. Constant motion. Constant progression. And no stagnation. And everybody seems to put their, I feel, and I may be wrong, that they're missing out on certain aspects of themselves by just allowing things to be said which you don't agree with. And if you don't agree with them, you have to be true to yourself and go, I don't agree with that statement. I don't agree with that line of existence, because for me, this brings a disharmony to my mood. And if I feel a disharmony to my mood, I'm going to change my surroundings. I'm going to change what's changing my mood. And if that seems like I'm trying to preach or trying to be guru or trying to direct guru, yes, I am, because it's my relationship with God that's being disturbed. It's my relationship with my emotions, with my emotion. It's a distinction to my emotion. I'm no longer in motion. There's restriction, and I don't want to be restricted. And if I feel restricted, I have to speak up and say, this is restricting me. And Srila Gaura Haridas understands that. He says, if this is restricting you, then this may not be the place for you. Which is just Srila Gaura Haridas saying, take the baton, and we'll all run together. Let's all run with the baton. If this is how you feel, that's how you feel. Start your own sampradaya. Start your own branch. We're not just meant to stay a branch, you stay strong. Reach out from the branch, and the mercy comes because you're still connected. As thin, as flimsy, or as fragile as your branch might be, well, because of its fragility, it still might survive strong winds. It still might be able to flow. Like the ISKCON branch snapped. The ISKCON branch snapped because it became too thick and too heavy. It's still a branch. It's still connected. But the tree wants more leaves. Krishna's tree wants more leaves to absorb his love. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shiva Sari Gaur. If you think that limits my ability to progress in consciousness, if you think that when I get to a certain level of consciousness, and I just have to go back into saying Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, and they go, oh well, that when you say Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda, you go into that and unpack that. They're like the mind drops. Oh, Shri Krishna Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Chaitanya. It's okay to be seen as a demon. It's okay to be seen as these things if you're being true to yourself. If you're being honest with how you feel. If you're being honest, your mic isn't steady. It cracks your voice on stage. Thank you. Thank you for telling me that. Because this is important. Thank you very much. I'll come back. Thank you. I'll tell you that. Thank you. How do you spell thank you? Maybe I'll use a microphone next. I'll find a phone.